Hello, YouTube family. Deontay and I are so excited to share our new video series entitled Luminaries. Throughout this series, we will be chronicling the lives of living legends who have facilitated change within the African American community through faith, perseverance, and servant leadership. We are privileged with the opportunity to have a conversation with author and Hall of Fame collegiate football coach Joseph "Joe" Taylor. We are truly honored Coach Taylor, a living legend, has given his time to meet with us. Joe Taylor is the youngest of three children born to the late Chauncey and Eleanora Taylor. Chauncey, Joe's father, a hardworking family man, was a World War II veteran. His mom, Eleanora, worked alongside her husband to support her family as a farmer in Sussex County, Virginia. She instilled her strong Christian values in Joe, his brother Leroy, and sister Mary. Rarely a Sunday passed where they did not attend church. Joe's love and passion for football can be traced back to the corner of Sherman and Morton Street in Northwest Washington, D.C. Joe could often be found here with his neighborhood friends playing football. His passion for football followed him to Cardozo High School. While at Cardozo, he had the opportunity to play for one of the most illustrious coaches in Washington, D.C. football history, the legendary Robert "Bob" Hedden. Hedden, the winningest coach in the history of D.C. public schools, was the first African-American coach inducted into the National High School Coaches Association. After graduating from Cardozo, Joe enrolled at Western Illinois University on a full scholarship. Joe, an offensive lineman, played for the Leathernecks under Coach Darryl Mudra, who is a college football Hall of Famer. It was as if God had blessed Joe from the very beginning of his football journey by surrounding him with Hall of Fame mentors throughout high school and college. It is with great honor to introduce the legendary Hall of Famer and author Joe Taylor.
Everybody, my name is Deontay Smith, and I'm alongside with my wife, Adrienne Smith, and we are honored today to be recording or having an interview, conducting an interview with a true living legend, Joe Taylor. Joe Taylor has had an amazing, legendary coaching run at the collegiate level, and he is currently at this moment the vice president for intercollegiate athletics and wellness center at Virginia Union. So thank you, Coach, for joining us for what I think will be a great interview, highlighting your legacy here on Black History Month.
Well, please know it's a real honor, and especially when it's coming from relatives who are doing great things themselves, and I'm so proud of. And so again, it's a real honor.
Okay, well, we're going to jump right into it with our very first question. Take it away, Adrienne.
All righty. So, Coach, before we look at your legendary 50-year career, I wanted to begin by discussing your upbringing. Now, throughout this interview, I'm going to be referring to your book, The Making of a Champion: Success is an Inconvenience. In the book, you mentioned that you grew up in a very religious Baptist family that stressed the importance of hard work. Can you talk a bit more about your upbringing and how it has shaped the man we see today?
Thank you so much. Well, I just left church, and just talking about the strength of Black women in our society, and over the generations. And my mom, Eleanora Taylor, was my role model. There's no question that when we got up on Sunday mornings, it was non-negotiable. When you got up, you were going to start getting dressed for Sunday school and church. And she made it clear that, it's all about, finding a man's spirit also there you will find him. And she just made it clear that this is the essence to the kind of life that you're going to have, because if your spirit's in the right place, then it's going to really guide you towards doing things that people won't give you credit or confidence to do. But she made it clear, just get your spirit right. And that's really why I have traveled the road less traveled, because a lot of things that we have been able to accomplish and get done is because of the early teachings of my mom, who was just, again, she was my role model. She put into me what was necessary to move forward and try to build this person. So that's really how it all started. Right down in Sussex County, that little place is 50 miles south of Richmond.
And
Wow.
as I understand, it all started in Sussex County, Virginia, but eventually you ended up in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And now your name is synonymous with football. But however, I understand baseball was originally your preferred sport until a chance encounter with the legendary Bob Hedden while at Cardozo High School. Can you share with our viewers who Bob Hedden is and the impact he had on your career? And also, how was he able to convince you to try football?
Well, Bob is a legend, as you said. Um, Before there were zones in DC, Bob would get up and leave home about 6:30 every morning. But he didn't get to HD Whitson until 9 o'clock, because he actually would go around almost every part of the city, and he would pick up young men and bring them to school, and you know, make sure that they were in class, make sure that they were going to practice. This guy, believe me, so many young people are really fortunate because Bob Hedden had the caring. He wanted to make a difference in young people's lives, and because of him, um, again, not just myself, but um, so many young people lives are better because of a guy by the name of Bob Hedden. And I talked to him probably, oh, at least 3 or 4 times a month. He's doing well because he also taught women's basketball, and he really enhanced the lives of a lot of young ladies. And see, with him, he really kind of taught me or really introduced me to what coaching would be about, because every summer I would return between years at Western, and I would coach with him for all-star games. And there I really had a chance to see how coaching could impact the lives of young people. So Bob is really a legend, and I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate what he did in my life. But I know a lot of others that he, also impacted in a very positive way.
And from what I understand too, when you started trying your hand at football, your parents weren't originally the biggest fans of that decision.
Well, I have an aunt that lives here in Richmond by the name of Mary Ransom. Um, you had to sign some papers to participate. Well, I got her to sign those papers because her handwriting was just like my mom's. They favored a lot, and because of her, I was able to participate because she agreed. Because my mother and father, you know, first of all, they were concerned about how dangerous football was, and really probably didn't understand the magnitude because, as you said earlier, baseball, where I came from and where I was born, baseball was the thing. And Very few people at the time were really interested in football. So Aunt Mary, I give her credit for allowing me to get started on this career.
Oh, that is wonderful. So Coach, in 1968, upon you graduating from Cardozo, I understand that you accepted a scholarship to play football at Western Illinois University. So how was your experience as one of the few African American students at a predominantly white institution, just fresh off the heels of the civil rights movement? What was that like for you?
Well, I would use the word challenging, but also enlightening. Um, at the time, Western had about 14,000 students for their enrollment. It was only 60 Blacks in that whole community. And as I recall, we did have a lot of racial comments that came our way. Um, People telling us what we can't do and you need to go back to where you came from. But um, if you had to write the script for your own life, a lot of things you would not put in it, but you probably wouldn't be who you are today because it's all about challenging. It's all about having your back against the wall. It's about people telling you what you cannot do. But football, as you said, I was on a scholarship there, and I was able to release some of the frustration, some of the challenges when I went out to practice. And they didn't know why I was hitting them so hard, but I, I know that was releasing the frustration that goes along with having to bear some of those kinds of challenges in your life. But I tell people all the time, if I had to do it all over again, I would do the same thing because I learned so much. And again, the person that I am is because of those kinds of experiences that, people telling you what you can't do. Um, but, it was a great experience. And not only did we end up graduating from there, but as I look back, we were able to start the first chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity because they didn't have any Black fraternities or sororities on campus. But I'm a charter member of Kappa Alpha Psi because we did start a chapter there. In fact, we just really, and I'm dating myself now, but we just celebrated our 50th year of charter members of KA Psi. And a lot of my friends, of course, being at Western Illinois, which was maybe about 2 or 3 hours west of Chicago. A lot of my friends now are from Chicago. And so that whole experience is still with me. And I appreciate all that I went through, not then, but I appreciate it now because I know that it really went into who I am now.
Wow. And it kind of reminds me of a Maya Angelou quote. She always says that I wouldn't take anything for my journey. And, what that means, essentially what you just said there, that what was going on at that time and what you endured, you wouldn't have changed anything because it all shaped you, like you said, into who you are today. So indeed, that is true. And also, my father is a member of KA Psi as well. So,
Oh,
so
smart man. Fantastic.
Um, and Coach, you mentioned earlier throughout your time at Western Illinois, you kept in touch with Bob Hetton back here at home, and you would help him out throughout the summer, different community events, and just helping him out wherever he needed help. And eventually, when you graduated from Western Illinois, he had a coaching opportunity waiting for you, but it was at the newly built H.D. Woodson High School, and he kept you busy. Head wrestling coach, assistant football coach, assistant baseball coach. So, can you talk about your first coaching experience there with Bob, and how did you become the father of wrestling at DC?
Mm. Now that's really interesting. Believe me. First of all, when I first graduated, there wasn't any openings over at HD Woodson, and I got a job at Alice Deal Junior High School, and it was up in the northeast area of DC, and I was there teaching, and Bob called me and said, "Listen, Nappy Lewis." Now, Nappy Lewis was the principal at HD Woodson, and he wanted to start wrestling because he understood that to keep all of the young people in the high school moving forward, how important athletics was. And, you're always going to have your football players, basketball players, but the young, smaller people, the guys that's 130 pounds, 150 pounds, well, they couldn't play football, they couldn't play baseball because their statute just didn't allow it. But in wrestling, you only compete against people your same size, your same stature. And those were the kids in that school that was creating all the problems. They were the ones stealing hubcaps. They were the ones cutting classes because they didn't have a chance to show that they were somebody. So Nappy Lewis wanted to introduce wrestling so that he could have extracurricular for the smaller stature kids. Well, Bob said, "Coach, we don't have any openings for football right now, baseball, but I know you're over at Alice Deal and we want to start wrestling. So I want you to go to the library and find some books on wrestling so that I can tell Nappy that you are the guy." Well, look at how the Lord works. My offensive line coach at Western Illinois was the head wrestling coach, and he made all of his players at least come in and wrestle with his team. So, I mean, you can't really, you can't make this stuff up. Okay. So here I am, a football player at Western, and I'm practicing with the wrestling team because my coach is a wrestling coach. So when Bob told me to go to the library, I didn't have to because I had the experience in college of being involved with wrestling. So when he said that, I said, "Boy, I don't understand this stuff," but how it turned out, I came over and there was no wrestling programs in the city of DC or in DC, period. Well, we started a wrestling program based on my background in college. And we would go out and we would play schools, outside the city, McNamara, all of those private schools who had wrestling, but none in the city. Well, before I left, and I was there 5 years doing this, uh, Baloo, Spingarn, we had about 8 schools in the city that started wrestling because I went to their principal, I went to the PE department, and I said, "Listen, you all have to start wrestling because it's a great sport. It allows you to get more of your student body involved." And I'm known as a father of wrestling because not only did we get it done at HD Woodson, we were able to get other high schools involved with it. And really, that's how it all started. And one of the reasons, see, one day I went into Alice Deal where I was teaching, and the principal called me in and said, "Well, you're not with us anymore." And I said, "Wow, I just got the job. You mean I got fired already?" Well, what had happened, Bob and the principal at HD Woodson had called Alice Deal and said that we wanted, me to make the transition. And I thought I had done something wrong in terms of, because, we had a lot of the kids there at Alice Deal were kids of diplomats, you know, high level authority people. And there was a incident where, you know, I was in PE class and I called for everybody to line up to get the roll. And some of them were just not listening. So I was a little bit aggressive with some of the students, and I thought, oh, I got fired. My first job out of college, and here I am getting fired. But really, Bob had already set it up that I would come over and I would start wrestling in the city or at HD Woodson that would lead to other high schools having a program. And it went well. And I know that was just a real blessing, not only for me, but also for the young people that were able to go out and show the student body that they were somebody too, that just because they couldn't play football, they couldn't play basketball, but they are somebody. And we competed at a very high level. In fact, Massey Pullins, who is on WHUR every Sunday night with the Quiet Storm, he was my captain. And he is doing a great job at, you know, and we talk from time to time, but he got a scholarship. He wrestled, and he is the quiet storm in DC right now.
That is so awesome. And another thing too, I wanted to touch on during your time at Woodson. Some people may not know that you also were teaching at that time, and I know education has been a big part of your career. But can you shed a little light about your time teaching there, teaching both the youth, the students, as well as adults?
Well, you know, Nappy Lewis was a very creative and forward-thinking principal. So I would get to work at about 7 every morning, and we had what we call the FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Then I would teach driver ed all day. Well, there was a evening program where we taught adults. So I would get to school about 7 o'clock and then leave till 9. And we taught driver ed. And see, Nappy Lewis knew that if you wanted your high school to be successful, not only had you do you need to include the students, but you have to get the parents involved. So he didn't want all of his computers and, you know, people stealing from the school. So he had an adult program from 6 to 9. So we taught evening classes to adults from 6 to 9. And when they were able to come up and, you know, improve their skill level, they had more pride in the high school. And it was a combination of the teacher, the kids being taught all day, but then the parents had a chance to, you know, learn in the classroom during the night. Um, Boy, it kept me busy, but I could see the importance of involving the whole community. And again, I think Nappy Lewis, you know, this guy was different. He was different, but he was different in another way. And another one of those persons that was in your life that just truly made a difference.
Totally understandable. Your time at HD Woodson was well noted. Definitely allowed you to really cut your teeth into coaching and a few other things. And after a few years of helping to build out that athletics program there, you decided to take your first swing coaching at the collegiate level. You accepted an opportunity to be an offensive line coach at Eastern Illinois University, working under head coach Daryl Mudra, who you used to play for in your days at Western Illinois. Can you share with our listeners about who Daryl Mudra is, aka Dr. Victory, and
Yeah.
opportunity and the impact that he's had early on in your collegiate coaching?
Well, there again, if you had to write the script, there's no way you could have written it any better. Daryl came to Western Illinois after my second year there. There was another coach when I first went there. And I probably should have shared that a little bit too. When I was at Cardozo as a player, um, there was a guy by the name of Harry Fritz who was the AD at Western. Harry was in town on business. And the guy that he was doing business with invited him to come to a game. Cardozo was playing Good Counsel, which is a school up there in the right outside of DC on the northern border. And Harry was there watching the game. And of course, I played offense, defense, special teams, never left the field. All right. And Cardozo won that game. And it was one of my better games. So the AD, Harry Fritz, went back to the coach and said, listen, I'm not a recruiter. You all run the football program. But I went to a game Saturday in DC. Actually, I think it's Silver Springs, Maryland, is where Good Counsel is located. He said, I watched the game, and there was a guy that was all over the football field. He made tackles, he ran the ball, he blocked, he was on special teams. You all need to look at him. Well, the coach at the time reached out and, Bob sent some film. And that's how I got the scholarship to go to Western. Well, now at the time, like I said, Daryl Muja was not there. But 2 years later, they fired this guy, that the head coach there, and Daryl came in. And Daryl, as you said, he was known as Dr. Victory because wherever he went, he changed the program. I mean, entirely. And Weston wasn't doing a good job of winning. But when Daryl came in, he called me into his office and said, I'm the new guy. This is what I'm looking for and all that. And, we went out to practice and he was impressed with what he saw. So again, he uh, kept my scholarship in place and playing for him. Uh, when my next 2 years, which have been 4 years, was up, Daryl said, I'm on my way to Florida State as a head coach. I would like for you to come with me as a graduate assistant. Well, certainly I was impressed, but I had already told Bob Hedden that when I graduated, how appreciative I was of him and what he had done, that I would come back and help him coach. Well, that's what I did. So when Darryl went to Florida State as the head coach, he was the one that preceded Bobby Bowden, who did a fantastic job. Um, Darryl would always stay in contact. He would come to DC and recruit our players and really just, again, stayed in touch with me because he appreciated the fact that not only that did we, do what was necessary on the football field, but I, I was a student that went to class. Okay. So he really realized that. So to go back, and I told him, I said, listen, Daryl, I've talked to Bob Hedden and I had promised him that I would come back and help. Well, after 5 years, of course, Daryl got fired at Florida State and he became the head coach at Eastern. Well, he called me again when he got to Eastern Illinois. And I had given Bob 5 years because I always tell people that your life should be in increments of 5 years. Every 5 years, you need to evaluate where you are and what you're going to do the next 5 years. Well, I have been a coach at HD Wilson for 5 years. So now here's, Mudra calling me. And at that time, I told Bob, I said, listen, this has been great, but I want to try the college level. And we went to Eastern Illinois in 1978 as the offensive line coach. The offensive coordinator was Mike Shanahan, who went on to coach at the Washington Redskins, the Denver Broncos, LA Raiders. And the defensive coordinator was, what's his name? John Tilling. So great staff, great opportunity to be around some good people who football was their life. Well, um, the first year there, we won a national championship in Division Two. Well, I'm hooked now. I'm through. I mean, this is what I'm going to do. Because see, Eastern Illinois had a winning season in 16 years. And this staff goes in and we won a national championship the first year. Unbelievable. But what a great experience. And it really solidified to me that when you got a chance to impact young people's lives in a positive way, that coaching is a real solid way to do it. In fact, I always look at coaching as a ministry because when you're trying to improve the lives of others, it is a ministry. But Daryl Mudra allowed that to take place in this career, and I'm indebted to him. When I was the head coach at Florida A&M, even though he was let go at Florida State, which is in Tallahassee, he moved about 30 minutes away to a little place called Crawfordville, and I visited him quite a bit. And he's about 92 years old, still living, but he's in a home. But Daryl, he taught me one thing: treat a man as he will be. Treat him as he can be, he will become. So I've always looked at young people, no matter how they came to me, I wanted them to be better when they left.
Amen. And I think it was just such an amazing opportunity, like you said, working with future Hall of Famers like Mike Shanahan, working with future legends like John Tierley. Um, and over that time, as you mentioned, you kind of caught the college coaching bug at Eastern Illinois. And then eventually you went to Virginia Union. You saw a role saw you take the role of O-line coach and then eventually the offensive coordinator there. And then you accepted your first head coaching role at Howard University. And in 1984, accepted a head coaching position at Virginia Union. And this was interesting. After some of your former players during your first stint at Union, they loved with the work and the job that you did so much that they demanded you come back and lead. So talk a little bit about that, and just also how was that transition from assistant coach to now you're the head coach, the head person in charge, and you get to set the vision for the team?
Well, again, if I had to put it in script, I couldn't have done it. But let me tell you how I got from Eastern Illinois to Virginia Union. When I went to Eastern, everybody on the staff were recruiters. So I took 15 guys from DC with me to Eastern Illinois. Well, of the 15, and I'm not going to tell you all that went on because all of them wasn't the best, all right? It's all about development. But anyway, of the 15 that I took with me my first year from H.D. Woodson to Eastern, 5 of those guys started as freshmen on the national championship team. Well, as I said, all of them didn't do everything that was expected. But this one guy by the name of Brian Johnson, he was a defensive end. And he's one of the guys that we had to send home because he didn't understand that university is about education. He didn't go to class the way he should have. So anyway, we sent him back to DC. Well, when he came back to DC, he transferred really to Virginia Union. Okay. He goes to Virginia Union, and every day he's in the head coach's office, Willard Bailey. He's telling Bailey, listen, there's a young guy out at Eastern Illinois. He's from DC. He's an offensive minded guy. He can help us to score. You need to call him. You need to get Coach Taylor here because they have a strong defense, but offensively they struggle. So Bailey calls me and said, I'm looking for an offensive coordinator. All right. At the same time, Hampton was calling because they was looking for, a coordinator too. Well, I decided to go to Virginia Union because I wanted to get back to the East Coast. The Midwest was fine, but it's cold out in the Midwest, right? It's so, but then I always will have an affinity for the Midwest because that's where I met my wife. She's from Chicago. She was at Western the same time I was. So I've always will be indebted to the Midwest. But I wanted to get back to the East Coast where it was a little bit warmer and family. But so Brian is the one that introduced Bailey and I. Bailey told me to coach, I want to interview you, get the ticket, fly out, and let's talk. But keep your receipts. Well, I still got those receipts. He haven't given me the money back yet. But I appreciate it because I was able to come, and they had just won a championship and graduated a lot of people. And when I interviewed with him, he did tell me, he said, Coach, we're going to be young next year. I don't know how many games we're going to win. But what happened was, I said, now I'm not coming from a national championship team, come to Virginia Union and not win. Well, we took those young guys and we won the conference championship. And so that's how I got back to the East Coast, Virginia Union, offensive coordinator. And then a couple of years later, I got a call from Howard. They were looking for a coach. Well, actually, a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator. But when I got there, the defensive coordinator, he left, and the head coach said, "Well, I know you're an offensive person, but we need a defensive person." So then the fact that I had been an offensive coordinator, then when I was at Howard the first year, I was a defensive coordinator. It prepared me to be a head coach because when I hired an offensive coordinator and when I hired a defensive coordinator, I knew what to listen for. I knew what to accept in terms of what they were saying in their interview. So again, how can you just can't script that kind of experience. And then as I was at Howard, and I don't know how serious they were about winning because they're known for their law school, medical school, not so much for athletics. So Bailey had gotten a call from Norfolk State to come back, which was his alma mater, to be their head coach. So and look at this, Dr. Shannon was the president at Virginia Union. The bursar at Howard was his nephew. He called his nephew and said, listen, you need to talk with the coach there because if Bailey takes the job at Norfolk, I got to have him back here because the players already told me if they don't get Joe Taylor back for the head coach, if Bailey leaves, that they were going to go to Norfolk with Bailey. Again, there's no way all of that could have been scripted, but I've always said hard work does not go unnoticed. Everything that we were able to do along the way in this career with people and people, of course, affecting me, created this career that all I did was do the best I could at where I was. And because see, they always say too, Deontay, It's not who you know, it's who knows you. That's the key to success in this life.
Indeed, that is so true. Indeed, that is so true.
Yes.
So, so in coaching in 1992, you accepted an offer to join Hampton University, and as their head football coach, you spent the next 16 years of your career and won 13 championships. And I'll repeat that again for our viewers. You won 13 championships in 16 years. More important than the championships, however, were the lives of the young men that you have helped to shape, as you mentioned, throughout all of your career. So in your book, you refer to your coaching as a ministry, which you've also mentioned. So can you elaborate on what that means and how your faith has been a fundamental element with your approach to coaching?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Great. That's another interesting segment. I was the head coach at, as you all know, Virginia Union, and Hampton was in the same conference, the CIAA, which we're on our way up later on today because our basketball tournament starts tomorrow. Well, Virginia Union prepared me for Hampton because, see, at Union, boy, I had to be the SID. I was the equipment man. Uh, we had to line the field, a little teach. I was the the person in charge of study hall. So doing all of those things at at VUU, prepared me for moving to Hampton because when I got to Hampton, all of those things that I did at VUU, Hampton had full-time people. We had full-time strength and conditioning. We had full-time SIDs. We had everything. So I could I didn't have to cut off my video trying to do a game plan because all of those people were in place. So that allowed me to be able to focus on coaching. So that's why we were able to, in 16 years, win 13 championships. And if you look at my book, it really talks about the young men that we coached at Hampton. One of the guys that I'm really so proud of, and I'm so proud of all of them because they really, if you look at the book, and I can tell you guys did, and I appreciate y'all reading it. And in fact, I might ask y'all for a book report later. But all of those testimonies from the players are mostly from Hampton. Marcus Dixon, who is one of our great players and students, he was in the Super Bowl this past Super Bowl because he was the assistant line coach, defensive line coach for LA Rams. And since that time, he's been hired at Denver to be the main or the head defensive line coach. Well, those are all the guys that were there. And believe me, they thought I was crazy a lot of times because things that we demanded, and it wasn't so much they didn't understand at the time, but I was trying to teach them that the Lord didn't put you here to be a uniform rack, that you are here, there's so much more to you than how fast you run, how hard you hit, how well you throw. Use this talent to be the pathway to your purpose because life is about being on purpose, with a purpose, for a purpose. And we always had a guy by the name of Jerome what's his last name? He was my minister. Um, he was the guy that every Friday night we had a sermon. And I wanted them to understand that, you know, and I've said this before, treat a man as he is, he will be. Treat him as he can be, he will become. But Reverend Jerome Barber was there he was our spiritual coach. And no matter where those guys were in life when they came to us, I wanted them to have the experience of mental development, physical development, emotional development, and spiritual development. And when we went to Hampton, that was our mantra. And that allowed us to not only win championships, but those guys graduated. They have families. They come to homecomings. They stay. In fact, I've been told by so many of them that they actually have parties and they talk about Taylorisms, things that I said to them. And a lot of it, I can't believe I said it. But I probably did because I was intentionally intrusive in their whole life, not just as athletes. So that's why when we look at what happened with those 13 championships in 16 years, um, that was truly a special time.
Excellent. I did want to make one mention, Coach. My current manager is one of your former students at Hampton, and he's always telling me the Taylorisms. In fact, his name is Andre Beasley, and
Yes.
he teaches, you know, when he's talking to our team, sometimes he'll make mention of something you have said or reference it. So that is so true. That's what you said.
Well, tell him I said hi, please.
I definitely will. And I just wanted to pivot a bit and talk about your Virginia Union experience. So you've served here as an offensive coordinator, a head coach. In 2013, you were appointed the director of athletics, and in 2019, the vice president of intercollegiate athletics and community wellness. So 17 years in total. So early on in your coaching career, you had an opportunity to coach in California. You turned it down. It wasn't home for you. So Virginia Union kind of feels like home. Can you talk about your relationship with Virginia Union over the years and what this college and the city of Richmond, Virginia has meant to you?
Well, thank you for asking that because I really owe Virginia Union a lot. I give them a lot of credit for, first of all, um, bringing me back as the offensive coordinator, having faith in me to be their head coach and lead that group of young men. And some kind of way, though, and I always say this, Virginia Union prepared me to go to Hampton. Hampton prepared me to go to Florida A&M. But those two experiences at Florida A&M and Virginia and at Hampton prepared me to come back full circle to Virginia Union because we were gone 25 years and not a lot had taken place in terms of improvements and enhancements. Dr. Perkins was the president who called and said, Coach, I know you are retired, but we have not won a championship at Virginia Union in 10 years. Will you just give me 3 years, come back, get us organized, and get us back on the right path? Well, somebody can't count because he asked for 3 years, and hell, it's 2022, and that was in 2013. So that's what, 7 years? So somebody can't count. But believe me, Virginia Union is a special place. And it did allow me to become or get back closer to family. Tallahassee, Florida, they came down to homecoming, but that's about a 15-hour drive. And So it allowed me to um, come back to an area where, like I said earlier, family is important. Um, I have a lot of aunts and uncles, and of course, Alexander. Um, all of us, we grew up together, and to be back among family, because this family loved to have gatherings, or I don't know if we have as many as we did before when everybody was living, but it was important to get back within reach of family. And of course, my birth certificate is right here in Richmond, because it is the state capital. Um, and during my whole career, family would always want to be a part, whether we was playing in Hampton, whether we was playing in New York, whether we was, in Tallahassee. So being born in the state of Virginia, a lot of family, close family, it was important that we get back. And then again, I just we're doing some things now at Virginia Union that I thought should have been done long ago in terms of upgrading facilities, uh, you know, trying to make it better for the coaches, trying to make it better for the athletes. They do a good job, but it's all about support. It's all about having a level playing field long before game day. So it's been great, and we're doing some good things. We got a ways to go, but we've come a long way. So it was good to come back and really share and give back to a university that I feel was really, really impactful in all that I've been able to do.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and I had the privilege of going down for homecoming, the homecoming game at Virginia Union right before the pandemic, and beautiful campus, beautiful football field. So you definitely can see things are changing and moving in the right direction. So, Coach, next question: you've been elected to multiple Hall of Fames. Just to name a few: Western Illinois University, Virginia Union University, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, the Mid Eastern Athletic Conference, and of course the National Football Foundation College Football Hall of Fame, and recently in February of 2020, the Black College Hall of Fame. First off, congratulations. That is an amazing accomplishment that reflects an amazing body of work. Uh, in your College Football Hall of Fame speech, you talked about controlling the dash.
I told every program that I went to, and most of them weren't doing well. Um, and I just took that word dash and said, gentlemen, you need to buy into this. It's important that you understand that the only thing you have in life that you have control over is the dash. You can't give it to anybody else. You can't rent it. You can't sell it. It's your dash, and only you can control
Can you
it.
share with us what does that mean to control the dash, and how has that been a central theme for your staff and your players over the years?
Mm. Well, first of all, let me say this. I know I've already said this already, but you guys, it's almost like you all were there at every step of the way. I really appreciate that. Again, I keep saying it, but I'm honored. Well, as you said, to be um, in those halls of fame, uh, first of all, it's just a blessing. But every time I'm at a podium accepting one of those awards, it's like coming full circle. We talked about how hard work does not go unnoticed. And I think when you are being honored, it's truly because people have recognized over the years, even at Hampton, to be the president, first of all, to get on the board of the board of trustees for the American Football Coaches Association, one of the largest organizations in the country, and then to rise to the position of president. Uh, from a platform of a HBCU. All just blessings, and the fact that people are just like you are, paying attention and understand that, to me, it's just a blessing. But one of my favorite things to talk about is the dash. It's been my mantra uh, because to me, it always creates focus. Because always, wherever I've gone, I've always been able to convince young men that to be successful in your life, it starts with controlling your dash. There are four numbers that precedes all of us. Those four numbers represent your birth year. Mine was 1950. At some point, there's going to be four additional numbers that will represent expiration. We had nothing to do with the first four. We have nothing to do with the final four. But in between those two sets of four numbers is always a dash. That's all you have control of, your dash. It's your dash. You can't sell it. You can't loan it. You can't give it to nobody. It's your dash. That's the only thing in life you have control of, your dash. The time between birth, the time between expiration. And all we did was to spell that out. DASH. D stands for discipline. Whatever you want to do in life and you hope to be successful, you must be disciplined. Discipline means you got to do the right thing. Every athletic office that I've ever been a part of in terms of facilities, signs were everywhere. Do the right thing. And that wasn't just for players and coaches. It was for the trainers. It was for the secretaries. It was for the equipment people. Everybody, you got to do the right thing. That's what that D stands for, discipline. A, attitude. Don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. Attitude means reach inside and grab that handle and flush all negativity. Don't let anybody pay rent in your head. If you want to do it, you can. Get your attitude right, you get your life right. S, sacrifice. Sacrifice. It's all about, see, I should tell my guys, you don't make All-American during the season. It's the sacrifice during the off season, the early morning get-ups. They used to, I remember one time in Hampton, we went to the gym to work out in January. Ice, snow everywhere. We got in the gym and I guess they hadn't broken down the seats and tables from a night before activity. We went outside on the parking lot at 5:30 in the morning. And we out there, we can't even see each other, but we are running, all right? We're doing exercises and drills. So the key is sacrifice. You gotta understand when Michael Jordan got cut from the first team that he went out for to play basketball, all he did was go in the gym and shoot 1,000 balls every day. That's sacrifice. That's sacrifice. They will come to me sometime and say, Coach, I'm sore. I can't work out. I say, I'm glad you're sore. That means that you're waking up muscles that were riding around sleep. All right. Soreness is the result of getting up off the couch. So it's about sacrifice. And then the last one is the most important one, H. H stands for habits. Man does not decide his future. Man decides his habits. And your habits decide your future. when you get your habits straight, you get your life straight. And that's really what the book is all about. And when we introduce that to young men and ask them every day, are you controlling your dash? That's why they were able to go out on Saturdays and win. That's why they could go to the classroom and pass. That's why they could become um, productive citizens in our country. So uh, that created focus, and that's really why you see all that we've been able to do. It was because of trying to control our dash.
Amen. Adrian and I had church this morning, and I think we just been blessed with the afternoon word right there.
Well, I tell you, it's been great because again, it's about focus.
Definitely. So right now, it's an exciting time in HBCU football. There's been a lot of discussion about the work Deion Sanders is doing with Jackson State. We've been hearing about highly ranked prospects like Travis Hunter and Kevin Coleman Jr. committing to play for an HBCU. Your current position at Virginia Union and now your new appointment to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. Congratulations for that, Coach.
Thank you.
Perspective on the college football landscape. What is your take on what is currently taking place, and what do you see for the future of HBCU football and HBCU sports in general?
Well, again, very important question, and I just look at the HBCUs as being they are really a godsend. They are much needed. Um, Now I know the PWIs because my wife and I have had the experience of a PWI, which is predominantly white institutions, but also HBCUs. But as you look around, and Eddie Robinson used to always tell me this too, that you know there's enough to go around. You might have to look a little bit farther, a little bit deeper. And we've had instances where we had to recruit young men where we ran out of stop signs, we ran out of road signs, and we had to look for red ribbons on trees. But we found them. See, it's been a lot of disappointing acts that have taken place in our country, from senseless shootings, oppression when it comes to voting, um, consistent neglect in our communities, and my God, divisiveness throughout. They've created a powerful social justice movement. And I think that's what you see HBCUs now becoming the recipients of. Uh, Deion Sanders, Stacey Adams, John Lewis, Clyburn, countless others. They've created what I call a deep dive into the importance of Black America. And when you talk about Black America, you're talking about the HBCUs, and it's a lot of increased visibility with the ESPN, with um, five-star athletes wanting to come to HBCUs. Um, Everything's happened for a reason. And our HBCUs, in fact, I read an article back in 1992, and it was just after I had decided, Bev and I decided that we want to spend our lives in HBCUs because we had opportunity to do a lot of other things. And I read in that article where if you look at our African American people who have ascended to decision-making roles in America, they all were graduates of HBCUs. Your Martin Luther's, your Jesse Jacksons, and the list goes on, Kamala Harris, Howard. And I was trying to figure out, really? So I'm doing my research. And so what comes out of the research is that when you are in a situation that tell you what you can be, you will become. See, at a PWI, you can take the work of a white person, their report, all right? You can take their name off of that report and put your name on it. And when you turn it in, they look at you as you are just no more than a C student. But in that HBCU, they always telling you what you can do, not what you're not. And so many of us, we can always pat our own selves on the back, but when others are patting you, telling you how great you are, what you can do, because I remember at Howard, they always say, you gotta be better. You gotta, don't just read one chapter, you got to read the whole book, all right? Because they are comparing you, and you gotta do your homework. You gotta do that behind the scene work because, and I've seen that persons who turn in a paper in a white school that a white guy got an A on it. I'm not sure if that's me or somebody else I'm talking about. But and you you turn the same paper in with a different name, but you get a C. So I think what the HBCU has done when we look at those who are, Clyburn, South Carolina State, one of the most powerful men in the world right now. And you look at, your Martin Luther's, people who made a difference. They were graduates. So all Dion is doing is pulling the covers back to create a deep dive so all of us can see this is nothing new. All right. Uh, so my affinity for HBCUs, you look at North Carolina A&T right now. Don't they have the #1 track team in the country? So they want to, cover the history books and so that we don't understand. From traffic lights to refrigerators. Tuskegee. So look, I can go on and on, but I'm gonna finish. But that's my take on HBCUs, and I think that Bev and I decided we was on 95 coming north, coming to DC to be with family. And we made a decision because we had a choice to make. Do you take this job at Western Illinois as a coach, or do you stay here in the HBCUs? We are so happy that we made that decision because from this platform, we've been able to impact lives that I know if we had stayed in PWI, we could not have done. And we just thank the Lord for it.
And first of all, and thank you for just making that decision, you and Beverly, because you really hit the nail on the head. So much of Black excellence was products of HBCUs, and have not only changed this country. We're only a few weeks removed from celebrating Martin Luther King holiday, but really many products of HBCUs have changed the world.
Yes.
So we definitely thank you for that. And I definitely agree. I'm excited to see where HBCUs are heading in the coming years. Coach, we have one last question. It wasn't scheduled, but Adrian, my wife, helped me out with this question. I think it's a good one. Just kind of a more personal, forward-looking one. But Adrian, I'm gonna go ahead and let you ask it. Our final question.
Thank you. So, Coach, retrospectively, as you look over all that God has blessed you with, your wife Beverly, your sons Aaron and Dennis, and your career, are there some things that you are still looking to accomplish to even further your legacy, or have you already done everything that you set out to do initially?
Well, good question. And I was asked to give a presentation in church for Men's Day one year. And the topic of my discussion or my presentation was die empty. And my message was simply when you look at the most talented place in America, it's considered the graveyard. People who have talent but didn't have enough faith and confidence to share it or to pursue it, they died with it and took it with them to the grave. I've always said that I'm going to die empty. I'm not going to take it with me. Right now, we are at Virginia Union. We have several projects in terms of, field turf, athletic facilities, a basketball arena. And then I've just been selected to serve on what they call the CFP, the College Football Playoff Committee. There's never been a representative from the HBCUs to be on that committee. We look at the top 25 teams every week. We have to get on a plane every Sunday and we fly to Dallas. We are there secluded in a hotel for 2 days with all these computers analyzing who should be the top. See, all of that, I would rather be somewhere playing golf, even though I'm not that good. But you just, I tried retirement. It didn't work. I stayed retired. And even when I was retired, we wrote the book, we went around, speaking. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to die empty as long as the good Lord wants to use me. I want to be a good servant. And there are times, though, to be honest with you, that on my way to work, I said, are you? Because see, being in leadership these days with all the challenges going on from divisiveness, from COVID, it's a lot of challenges. But I do get joy out of seeing young people lifting their chins off their chests, feeling good about who they are. That's where my gratitude comes from. I don't know how long, but I'm enjoying it. My wife and I have a trainer that we meet with twice a week to work us out. We keep trying to tell her that we are not training for the Olympics. We're just trying to breathe. So we're blessed with health. We're blessed with a purpose. And when anybody feels that somebody of my age being around brings value, I'm honored. So those are my closing words. I will die empty.
I love it. I love it. My pastor has always said, if the good Lord wakes you up another day, that means he has a plan for you still. He still has another thing that he needs you to accomplish.
Yes.
First and foremost, Coach, thank you again. This has been an honor for the both of us. It's been a great opportunity. I wanted to make mention that the book that we've been referencing is The Making of a Champion, Success is an Inconvenience by Coach Joe Taylor. For our viewers, we're going to make sure we have the link to this book for Amazon, all the outlets that carry it, so you can order this book. If you've been blessed by just many of the great words of wisdom that you've heard in this interview, I can tell you now, that's only 10% of what's in this book. I've read the book. It's been a blessing. We've read it. It's been a blessing to our lives. Adrian, did you have any closing comments that you wanted to make?
Yes, again, Coach Taylor, we just appreciate you taking this time out. And thank you, like you said, for imparting so much wisdom and knowledge from your experiences onto us. And we just appreciate it. We're just absorbing, and we thank you. We're living in the overflow right now. So we thank you so much.
Well, Deontay and Adrian, please know it's been my honor. And all we've been talking about is blessings. And Eleanor Taylor, a long time ago, embedded that, in us. And it's been a great career, but a blessed career. And we thank you all. And we are so proud of you all and what you all are doing, and continued success to both of you.
Thank you
So much.
Thank you.